Long ago, before clocks, before rushing, before the noise of our world, there were the stories of the Greek gods, and though they were told in temples and written on stones, tonight they are told as nothing more than soft, quiet, and almost boring whispers, stretching like a never-ending dream across the night. Zeus, the great father of the gods, does not thunder here. He does not roar. He does not shake the sky. Instead, he simply leans back upon a throne made of clouds, watching them drift and change shape ever so slowly that a single cloud might take 1,000 years to pass. And beside him, Hera, the queen, does not scold, does not rage, does not scheme. She simply gazes downward at the earth below, her eyes moving as slowly as stars across the heavens, her crown glimmering not with fire, but with the dim glow of a fading lantern. Below them, Poseidon, lord of the sea, holds his trident loosely, letting it rest against a rock of coral, and instead of crashing waves and furious storms, his ocean tonight is as calm as glass. An ocean that does not end. An ocean where every wave that rises also falls back gently, endlessly repeating itself like the rhythm of a breath, a rhythm that rocks the world into sleep. And Athena, goddess of wisdom, has no battle to plan, no city to protect, no war to win. She simply polishes her armor with deliberate strokes, over and over again, the sound of cloth against bronze echoing softly, endlessly, a rhythm that never ends and never needs to end. Apollo, her brother, sits with his golden lyre, strumming so slowly that each note seems to float in the air forever. One soft pluck, then silence, then another and another, until the sound is no sound at all, but simply the memory of music lingering in the mind. Artemis, the huntress, walks barefoot through a forest that never changes, a forest lit only by the silver light of the moon, her bow resting at her side, unused, as she moves slowly between the trees, each step falling on moss so soft that not even the smallest sound escapes. Only silence, endless silence. Hermes, the messenger, so fast in every other tale, slows down here until his footsteps are hardly footsteps at all. His winged sandals brushing against the grass, his staff tapping the earth like a heartbeat, again and again, without hurry, without purpose, just the sound of walking. And far below, in the quiet depths, Hades, ruler of the underworld, does not frown, does not frighten, does not rage, but sits quietly on his throne of shadow, listening to the flow of rivers that move endlessly through his realm. The river Styx, the river Lethe, the river Acheron, each one carrying soft whispers that fade into nothing, whispers that repeat themselves again and again until they are no different from silence. Persephone sits beside him, weaving flowers into a chain that never ends. Each petal placed slowly, each stem bent gently, until the chain is miles long, stretching across time, but never finished, never hurried. Above, her mother Demeter walks endlessly through fields of golden wheat, her fingers brushing each stalk, one after another, as though she has forever to count them, as though she has forever to touch them, and the fields sway gently, not with wind, but with the breath of the earth itself, slow, heavy, eternal. Hephaestus, the god of fire and forge, does not hammer metal tonight. He simply watches the embers glow, dim, then glow again, the fire breathing like a giant creature that never wakes, only sleeps forever, the glow painting the walls of his workshop in soft red light. Aphrodite sits by the shore, combing her hair with a shell, each stroke of the comb taking ages, each strand of hair falling in slow motion, her reflection in the water rippling ever so slightly, the sea behind her calm and endless, stretching to the horizon. Dionysus, god of wine, of laughter, of revelry, does not dance tonight, does not shout, does not celebrate. He only lifts his cup slowly to his lips, takes the smallest sip, and sets it down again, his eyes half closed, as though the taste itself is an entire dream. One by one, the gods of Olympus, the gods of earth, the gods of sky and sea and shadow, all fall into this rhythm of stillness. Zeus resting, Hera watching, Poseidon humming, Athena polishing, Apollo strumming, Artemis walking, Hermes strolling, Hades listening, Persephone weaving, Demeter wandering, Hephaestus watching, Aphrodite combing, Dionysus sipping. And as their movements slow, so too do their stories. The mighty battles and the fiery tales that once filled the world become nothing more than faint outlines, fading into the distance, as if memory itself is growing tired. You might hear their names again and again, repeated like the soft tolling of bells in the distance, never rushing, never urgent, just drifting across the mind. Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Athena, Apollo, Artemis, Hermes, Hades, Persephone, Demeter, Hephaestus, Aphrodite, Dionysus, each name. And so the night of the gods stretched on, not in haste, not in sudden turns, but in a quiet unfolding that seemed to last beyond counting, each moment like a soft wave touching the shore, repeating again and again without end. And Zeus, heavy upon his cloud throne, leaned further back, the thunderbolts forgotten at his side, their light fading to the dim glow of embers, flickering, then dying, then flickering once again, as though even lightning had grown tired of striking, while Hera, beside him, traced her crown with slow, careful fingers, over and over, the same path repeated endlessly, as if the weight of eternity itself had become a small ornament to touch in silence. Poseidon stirred slightly, his trident sliding against the rock, and the sound was not sharp, not harsh, but soft as the hum of a seashell pressed against the ear, and the ocean beneath him rolled forward in the same patient rhythm, each wave folding into the next, the surface rising, falling, rising, falling, not as change, but as repetition, so steady, so endless, the time itself seemed measured not in days, but in the breath of the sea. Athena's hand still moved across her shield, circling endlessly, polishing not for glory, not for battle, but because the motion itself was a comfort, the sound of cloth against bronze a lullaby, a whisper that filled Olympus with its gentle rasping, and Apollo, still with his lyre, plucked another note, one note that hung in the air until it disappeared into silence, followed by another and another, until the difference between music and silence vanished, and all that remained was the memory of a string touched long ago. Artemis stepped deeper into her silver forest, yet the path did not change, for each tree resembled the last, each pool of moonlight the same as the one before, and her steps fell so softly on the moss that it was as though she were not moving forward, but walking in place, forever beneath the same unchanging branches. Hermes, too, walked, his staff tapping against the earth, one tap, then another, a sound so regular it might have been mistaken for a heartbeat. The heartbeat not of a man, not of a god, but of the world itself, slow, steady, without beginning, without end. Hades, deep below, listened not to cries, not to the laments of souls, but to the waters of his rivers, the river Lethe carrying away memory, the river Styx repeating oaths long forgotten, the river Acheron echoing sighs that were no louder than the wind across stone, each river flowing in circles, endless circles, never ceasing, never rushing. Persephone, seated near him, continued to weave, petal by petal, stem by stem, her garland so long it wound across the floors of the underworld, curling around pillars, stretching across halls, trailing down stairways, yet still she did not finish. Still she placed one flower after another, the pattern as infinite as the seasons she once ruled. Demeter above let her hands glide across the golden grain, stalk after stalk after stalk, her touch so slow it seemed she might never reach the end of the field. And perhaps there was no end. Perhaps the field stretched forever beneath a sun that neither rose nor set, only hovered on the edge of the horizon, painting the sky with a color that was not day and not night, but something in between, eternal twilight. Hephaestus sat before the fire of his forge, the embers glowing, dimming, glowing again, each breath of the flame like the breath of some unseen sleeper. Slow, steady, endless, the light dancing faintly on the stone walls, while Aphrodite by the sea lifted her comb again, pulling it gently through strands of hair that gleamed like the reflection of stars, each stroke of the comb slower than the last, until the act itself became a rhythm, a motion without purpose, repeated for its own quiet comfort. Dionysus raised his cup once more, a sip that seemed to last 1,000 years, the taste spreading like warmth across the night, his head bowing lower, his eyes drifting shut, and still he lifted the cup again, again, and again, each sip slower than the last, as though he were savoring not the wine itself, but the act of drinking, the pause between sips stretching out until it was longer than memory. And so the gods continued, each in their place, Zeus reclining, Hera tracing, Poseidon humming, Athena polishing, Apollo strumming, Artemis stepping, Hermes tapping, Hades listening, Persephone weaving, Demeter swaying, Hephaestus watching, Aphrodite combing, Dionysus sipping, again and again, their names repeating like a chant, their motions repeating like breath, their stories unraveling into fragments that dissolved into silence, and still the night lingered, softer, slower, deeper, until all that remained was the endless rhythm of repetition, carrying the listener, gently, inevitably, into the stillness of sleep.